hooking you in from the first beat. What if the loudest enemy in your head isn't a story you tell, but a clock you set for yourself? Tonight, I want to unpack a simple, almost counterintuitive strategy that actually quieted years of anxiety for someone who felt like they were drowning in worry. And yes, it sounds almost too tiny to matter, but the results speak for themselves. Picture this: a moment when anxiety is a bully, not a background hum. You can't decide without spiraling. You're not lazy for needing a break, you're human, and you deserve a tool that respects your brain's tempo. That's where the 6:30 p.m. rule steps in. It's not a cure-all spray, it's a constructive boundary. A time window where you pause the rain of worries and let your other, calmer parts of you surface. Personally, I think the neurology of this is fascinating. By giving your brain a scheduled window to rest, you reduce the cognitive load of constant vigilance and create space for emotions to reset. Context is everything here. The speaker in our story was juggling intense stress, looming work pressure, a faltering personal life, and the ache of losing a parent. Traditional coping strategies, business, trips, long walks, weren't sufficient. In my view, that's the heart of the drama. When your usual tools stop working, you need a different lever. The therapist doesn't just hand over a protocol, she offers a shift in how the brain manages time and attention. What makes this really interesting is how a simple boundary can recalibrate a fight-or-flight system that's been stuck on high alert for months. Let's break down the core idea, and then expand with a few angles you might not expect. Idea 1. Parking the worry window. The rule: from 6:30 p.m. until the next morning, no worrying. You can choose to pick up the thread again after dawn. Why it matters: it intentionally reduces the mental load of ruminations. The mind learns that there's a predictable breakpoint, which lowers the perceived threat and gives the nervous system a chance to downshift. My interpretation: this isn't about suppressing thoughts, it's about reordering them. By postponing, you create a rehearsal space where the brain practices returning to a baseline state. It's a tiny experiment you can repeat nightly, which compounds over weeks. Broader perspective: scheduling emotional processing mirrors how cognitive behavioral approaches use structured exposure and response prevention. It acknowledges that emotions aren't a force that you can just turn off, but a signal that can be managed with boundaries. Idea 2. The shift from must fix now to can sleep on it. The core twist: worries arrive with urgency, but sleep introduces distance. The brain often reprocesses information during sleep, leading to clarified perspectives in the morning. Why it matters: you remove the nightly pressure to solve every problem on the spot, which often feeds a loop of overthinking. My interpretation: the rule acts like a negotiation with anxiety. It says, you can be loud tonight, but tomorrow we revisit with a fresher set of assumptions. That reframing is powerful because it reduces rigidity and fosters resilience. What people misunderstand: it's not about pretending the problem vanishes. It's about giving your psyche a chance to re-enter the problem with more bandwidth and fewer trigger-happy reactions. Idea 3. The blend of therapy and practical lifestyle changes. The longevity of results wasn't solely from the rule, it came from a mix: talking therapy, nutrition, sleep, exercise, and pacing. Why it matters: mental health isn't a single tool, it's a system. A rule like this can act as the hinge that makes other habits stick. My interpretation: boundaries don't replace therapy, they empower it. The no-worry window becomes a ritual that reinforces calm as a mode of operation, not an exception. Bigger trend: this aligns with the growing emphasis on low-friction, behavioral nudges that scale. Tiny, repeatable actions can produce outsized mental health dividends when they compound over time. Idea 4. The long arc of personal transformation. After 18 months, the narrator felt ready to go it alone. The rule was a catalyst, not a silver bullet. Why it matters. Sustainable change often looks like small, persistent wins that build a new baseline for feelings and decisions. My interpretation: you don't overthrow anxiety in a day, you rewrite your daily rhythm so anxiety doesn't own the calendar. What this suggests: the real power is in creating a container for your mind to rest, reflect, and re-engage with life's demands without collapsing under them. Deeper insight: what this reveals about anxiety management. A detail I find fascinating is how a boundary translates into a neural and emotional reset. The bully metaphor isn't just colorful, it's a practical framing. The bully can be contained, not defeated instantly. What many people don't realize is that control isn't the same as suppression. The rule gives you agency within a predictable pattern, which is enormously empowering. If you take a step back and think about it, the 6:30 p.m. rule mirrors what many therapists advocate: create predictable times for reflection, then allow yourself to disengage and reset. It's a microcosm of proactive self-regulation in a chaotic world. Closing thought. The takeaway isn't that worry is optional. It's that our brains need boundaries and windows to metabolize stress. A simple timer can become a doorway to a calmer, more grounded life when paired with supportive therapy and healthier habits. A question to you: could you borrow a similar reset for your daily routine? What boundary would you set tonight to give your mind a rest and see how it changes tomorrow? If you're listening to this and thinking, "I've tried everything," consider this. A tiny, enforced pause might be the missing hinge you've been waiting for. Personally, I think the power of a rule is in its repeatability and its ability to reclaim your mental agency, one evening at a time.